Okay, I just had to start this video off by showing you guys this. You see these little medical cases that are all over the walls and ground within the game? Well, look at this. While they are glowing, you can rest assured that there is medical supplies within, stim packs and all that. However, once you take all of the supplies out, that glow fades. So while you're in the heat of battle, you can scan the room around you and try and chart a path in order to get to newer supplies in case you're running low. It's a pretty nice little touch. A not so nice touch is the inventory and menu system in this game, and it is quite clunky. And it's that contrast between the good and the bad that I wanted to talk about in this video, just to give all of the millions of players who are about to hop on and experience this game for the first time a little idea of what you should be expecting going into this. Because after all, this is a Bethesda game. Now, if you happen to pay attention to social media, you can tell right now Starfield is going to be the most talked about game in the history of mankind, it seems like. And that's because it's a polarizing game and it's only available on PC and Xbox. If you take the reviews as a whole, last I checked, there was 55 critical reviews and it was sitting at an 86 on Metacritic, which is a great game, by the way. The video game community really has to calm it down on games needing to be a 90 or they're not good. I don't know why this is becoming more and more of a thing, but we need to stop that. But even within these reviews, you see people giving it anywhere from a 10 down to like a 6 or 7. And guess what? That's okay. These are all just opinions. And the thing that's been most shocking to me is what people were expecting this game to be. It feels like people expected the graphics to be better than Horizon Forbidden West, or the gunplay to somehow be better than Destiny or even The Last of Us 2. And if you have actually played Bethesda games at all, I'm talking about going all the way back to even just like Morrowind, Oblivion, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Skyrim, you know that they've never been known for their top of the line graphics or their unbelievably smooth gameplay. That's not what they make. And I know that sounds crazy if you're looking at a game from just the atypical level that we usually rate games by, but Bethesda does something different with their video games. As far as I'm concerned, there is not a developer in existence who does the moment-to-moment awe and wonder of what you're going to experience next in a game better. And in my first 8-ish or so hours with Starfield, that's what I can tell you. My attention is constantly being diverted from different location to different location, wondering, hey, can I go over here? What's this about? Take this moment, for example. I got to this point of New Atlantis, which is the first city that we're introduced to. And no, that's not really a spoiler because, well, it's everywhere if you've read reviews. If you haven't, well, you're probably not watching this video anyways. I got to this point and I was wondering, this city's huge, but can I go outside of it? And yes, you can. You can use your jetpack, and lo and behold, I actually discovered another facility outside of the main city within the forest. Bethesda has always been amazing at rewarding your curiosity, and it doesn't seem like it changes much here. However, for those of us who grew up playing the Fallout and Elder Scrolls titles, the way that discoverability is done in Starfield is, I guess for lack of a better term, a little bit choppier than they were in those games. Because obviously in those games, you were on one giant landmass of some sort, where in this, your moments of discoverability are jumping from one planet to another or one starship to another. And so it's a little more disconnected at times, and I can see why that's bugging some people. I'm not 100% sure where I fall on this yet. I'm way too early in the game. And speaking of that disconnection, there's a lot of systems going on here, and so there's a lot of little things that you might miss out on. For instance, you can trade with your companions in this game. However, what is not really well explained is what happens when you take some of their gear and then give them new gear. They don't auto-equip. So for instance, if you hand Sarah here a brand new gun or two and then just drop them in her inventory and then get into a fight, she's gonna walk around unarmed. The AI apparently is not capable of deciding which gun it's gonna use, so you have to manually go in and equip weapons for them. Little unsure why that's the case, but it's here. Another thing I'm not proud to admit, it took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out how the heck to just quickly get to my quests. If you look at the menu screen, it's set up into 4 different quadrants, and so at least for me in my head, it was easy to overlook that if you look straight down into this section right here, this is where you get into your quest menu quickly. Before this, I was actually jumping into the map menu first and then going into quests, which was really cumbersome. This makes it at least a little bit easier. Though speaking of maps, another thing that I think a lot of people are going to be annoyed with, no mini maps when you're in locations. And that includes cities. I'm gonna go ahead and assume because of the procedurally generated worlds, this was just a decision that was made, but it was kind of shocking, and so it takes a while to get used to. You really have to learn these locations. And man, speaking of locations, some of the auto-generated stuff that's within this game, even right outside of New Atlantis, looks horrible. And that's from someone who doesn't really care about graphics too much. There are times where you're just like, what on earth? To even add a little bit more salt to that wound, in, I believe, the first Bethesda game ever, there is no swimming. Like, you can jump in the water and float and swim, yes, but you can't go underwater. There is no underwater life. And in a space game, I suppose that makes sense, but I was really looking forward to seeing some really cool underwater worlds. We're not having that in this one. But to make up for that, the interior locations in this game are simply incredible. There is so much stuff here. There is so much to explore and look through. And yes, in the most Bethesda fashion ever, there is little intricate storytelling built all around these locations. And for instance, right here on screen, you see a deck of cards. You can individually pick up individual cards. And of course, you can then move things around if you want, just like you can in every other Bethesda-based game. So the options for just getting really creative with locations, piling things up, that all still exists. All those internet memes are going to be everywhere. It's going to be fantastic. Oh, and quickly, for those of you who want to explore everywhere, the new lockpicking minigame in Starfield is quite fascinating, actually, to the sense that it's pretty easy early on and self-explanatory, but the more advanced it gets, it can get cumbersome, because what ends up happening is you can actually make it down layers 1 and 2, get to the 3rd layer and realize that you probably used one of the picks you need for this one in the ones up above it. And I know that sounds confusing, but that's just how that it works in this game. A tip that I have not seen many people talk about is you can actually go through all your different options and look at the levels 2 and 3 and then line up your picks there, because when you go to hover over them again, they'll stay in the location you had hovered before. So you can actually go through and get all of the exact locations set up and ready to go before you even start if you want. And that is definitely cool, if that made sense. I understand that was probably a little bit of a mouthful there. And mouthful is really the correct term here, because I haven't even talked about the shipbuilding and the base building yet, because I haven't even done it. I haven't even experienced it yet in the story. There are so many systems here, and yes, that's a play on words, because yeah, there's a lot of systems. The map is huge, it's gigantic. And I haven't even talked about how the photo mode in this game is actually really well done and super convenient, because it's built into the scan system. And before I forget to even mention it, that scan system also has a compass built into it that I do not use, so I do not have footage, but it helps alleviate the fact that there's no minimap. But yeah, that photo mode, it's implemented in such a clean and easy way in this game, and I think this is the reason why you're gonna see so many amazing screenshots of this game, is because it's so easy to use. And guess what? They're even added to some of your loading screens from time to time, which is quite fascinating. So as I get further into this game, I'm definitely gonna be taking advantage of that one. And that's because I plan on playing this game for the foreseeable future. And I think that's the end point that I want to make with this video. Starfield is not the type of game you can just throw up screenshots or videos and compare it with other games. Because yes, there are absolutely amazing AAA games out there. And I'm not even trying to argue whether or not this is a Game of the Year contender. We will cross that road in another video as I get further and further into this game and hopefully beat it once or twice. But the thing that Starfield is going to have in it, more so than almost any game that we've had this year and for the last couple years, Starfield is going to have incredible highs and unbelievably depressing lows. That's a Bethesda title through and through. And that's why this game is not one you can rate right now. It's years and years down the road. Where are we at with it? How often are people still talking about it? Because Skyrim did the exact same thing. It had its problems when it released, but it also pushed the entire industry forward because of its moment-to-moment wow factors. Starfield seems to be doing that exact same thing.
Bartender at the viewport would stop complaining to security. I don't know what she lost,